I was thinking the other day about vocal stems, and I remembered one that has been a favourite of mine for a long, long time. You know the Lizzo song, Scandal Noted, Truth Hurts?
Sure.
You know the
probably.
song?
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah. Off to a great start.
Yeah.
There's a line in it that goes, could have had a bad bitch, non-committal, helped you with your career just a little. And I like to sing, get yourself a cheap meal, go to Lidl, tiny little mouse man, Stuart Little. And I say that to myself all the time.
Oh my
anyway,
God.
Intro over.
You know
Wow.
what? Me and Henry always talk about Stuart Little. Like, I just want to know more about that universe, because in that film, they just do not answer enough questions about Stuart Little and like what his whole fucking deal is. Like, imagine
Rachel, we
being a
cannot.
child. Like, imagine being a
cannot.
child and the mouse gets adopted over you, like a literal human.
And they prefer the mouse.
And they prefer the mouse. The man mouse,
God.
by the way, he is a man. Stuart Little is a
Right.
man
He's an adult man mouse.
because he's not a child mouse.
Is that canon? Well, he's in an orphanage
drives.
for children.
But that's the
Yeah, because
thing.
he's a mouse.
I guess he does drive.
But he's not a child mouse. Like, I'm thinking like Disney mice when they're kids. They're like all cute, but he's like an adult. He looks like an adult mouse.
Who voiced Stuart
Oh my God.
Little?
So, are you saying that Stuart Little and The Orphan are essentially the same film? Like, that's what we're getting at here, is it?
But like,
Oh, it's Michael J. Fox.
Yeah,
No.
yeah, it was, wasn't it? Yeah. I
I just don't understand the logic of that world. I've not seen Stuart Little 2. I'm a
Me neither.
pure Stuart Little 1 person. So I'm just a bit confused. Also, I'm sorry, but that bit where his mum puts him in the washing machine literally scarred me as a child. I was like,
Yeah, I
he's
remember that being
drowning.
really scary.
It was like Lost. It was like, was it earlier than Lost? Did Lost get their idea from Charlie? Charlie sacrificed him from Stuart
Hold
Little
on,
1.
Sorry. Right, I know we haven't recorded for a month, Rachel, but you're saying a lot, and I think you've overloaded my brain and been recording for less than 4 minutes. I can't keep up with the things you're saying. Do I think that the most emotional scene from the TV show Lost, which I haven't thought about for 10 years, where Charlie, spoilers,
Yeah.
drowns,
Sacrifice himself. Penny's
Yes.
boat.
not Penny's boat,
Not
yeah,
Penny's
Yeah.
boat, that bit gets me every time.
was inspired by a tiny little mouse man, Stuart Little, in the washing machine. As he placed his hand on the...
Yeah, and he's like,
said, I'm an adult
"Mom!"
man on his hand.
Yeah. Is it? I don't know.
Oh, God.
You know, there's no unique ideas. People take inspiration from everywhere.
Everything's derivative. All art is derivative.
No, I was talking to Rebecca about this earlier. I'm running hot today.
You are like ready for this. This is incredible already.
We're
10
chatting.
a.m. Me and Rebecca.
Yeah. Rachel and I were chatting at 10 a.m. We successfully like pumped each other up for this podcast, and then we had to go and deal for like the next 9 hours.
At 10 a.m. this morning. Oh, is that when you were talking? Yeah, okay. We'll get into that. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, what a great way to kick off 2025 of podcasting.
Yay!
Stuart Little. Let's go.
But like, okay, but don't you just want to
I
get
want to say
Stuart
more about
Little
this
and
too,
just-
actually.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
not-
me too. But like, at some
I
point,
just want
shouldn't we?
to. I feel like. Oh no, I can't say that.
Please say that. You want to crush him in your hands?
Yeah, crunching
No,
Stuart
Rachel,
Little
don't,
in your
please,
hand.
not this. We are 7 minutes into the new year, please.
My brain's caught up now. I'm processed what you said about 4 minutes ago. You implied there that Stuart Little 1 was all establishing the characters, but Stuart Little 2 is the lore dump. When you were like, oh, well, I haven't seen Stuart Little 2. I assume that explains the lore. Which is very
Well, I'm
funny.
hoping it does.
I think they find his parents in that movie.
Well, the thing is, my questions are they understand Stuart, who's a mouse, but not Snowball, who's a cat. And Stuart can talk to Snowball, but the humans don't understand Snowball. So what the fuck is up with that? Like, what? Why the mouse, but not the cat? And what is happening there?
When we meet up over the summer, can we watch Stuart Little and then
Yes.
record a podcast about it?
Yes,
Yeah, because I have questions.
best will in the world. I need us to move on because I could talk about this for 2 solid hours.
The Stuart Little lore.
Oh my God.
Oh, I've just rubbed chili in my eye, so a lot's happening for me right now.
Wait, you have
But
access
also-
to chili right now?
No, I'm chopping chilies right now. I've just made dinner and chopped chilies. Oh, I've really got my eye there. I can't cope.
Oh my God. Oh my, get some water in it.
Put some milk in it. That's what you need to do.
Put some milk. I have
Yeah,
all my
milk
milk. I'll have
neutralizes
with you.
chili.
Milk.
Welcome back, everybody, to Indieventure, the indie gaming podcast hosted by me, Rebecca Jones, and my two wonderful friends, Liam Richardson
Hello.
and Rachel Watts.
Hi.
Well, it's 2025, which I don't know if you're anything like me, you've probably got some thoughts and feelings about that number being in the year. Yeah, I didn't write an intro again, but I do have opinions, it's clear. No, I'm genuinely, 2025 is going to be a really cool year for the podcast. We've got together, we've talked it through. We've got some, I know every podcast starts the new year like this, but genuinely we've got some really cool stuff that we're going to do to entertain ourselves and also as a happy accident, you throughout the year with some cool indie gaming chat and stuff. But first of all, you know, it's been a bit over a month since we last recorded an episode, so let's chat about some games. It's a little bit of an icebreaker. Like, what did everyone play over Christmas?
Ooh, who wants to go first? Liam, I want to know yours.
Yes.
Mine. I played a lot of games over Christmas. Here's some off the top of my head. Alan Wake 2, Astrobot, Path of Exile 2, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, Hall of Torment, Go-Go Town.
My God.
I think there's more. Mario Party Jamboree, that Switch one. I played a lot of games.
There's so many.
I know, right?
I think I like games, actually. I hadn't really played that much in between going to Mexico last year and doing our Game of the Year episode. And then the second I didn't have a podcast to record, I was like, I think I'm going to play every game now.
Yeah, you really did.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah. I finished a lot of them. Oh, I played Metal Gear Solid as well, randomly.
Oh, wow.
I just played
Okay.
Metal Gear Solid over a 2-day period. I was like, I'll just play that. What's wrong with me?
Incredible.
But one game I want to talk about, which I've been playing a little bit with Ed Thorne, a friend of the podcast, Ed Thorne. He was on our most recent extra episode. Is a game called Windblown by the Dead Cells developer, Motion Twin. Have you heard about this?
Have not.
Yes, a little bit,
Oh,
but not
okay.
loads.
A little bit. Yeah, I was very surprised that the follow-up to Dead Cells, what is arguably one of the most successful indie game success stories of all time, has not had as much noise around it as I expected. So I got a code, so thank you to the publisher for sending that over. And this game rules. It's so good.
Ooh.
Now, what I will say is that it has very little in terms of story, so it's quite hard to like get a bit of a grasp on it. There's not really much to like dig into in terms of like who you are or why you're there. It tries to communicate it, but as far as I'm aware, you're a bunch of animals that just yeet themselves into a big tornado and then you fight monsters. But as a co-op as a co-op focused game, it's basically co-op Hades. Like that's
Oh.
maybe not the best way of describing it, but it has the tight combat of Hades, the fun weapons of Hades, a load of really cool abilities. The boss fights are so good. You high-five people to get new abilities. It's just like, it's very well made. It's very polished for early access. I've just had a really great time with it. One of the biomes is a rat kingdom, and it's just a bunch of horrible rats running around.
I
And
love
Wow.
that.
yeah, it's the best. So yeah, Windblown, if you're on the fence about it and you're like, oh, I quite fancy like a fun co-op roguelike to play with a friend, or up to 2 friends, give Windblown a try. And it's getting updates quite frequently as well. And they're like really listening to community feedback. Like they've completely overhauled like the death system just before Christmas.
Oh,
It's-
really?
It's good fun. Yeah, good game.
Awesome.
Yeah, because it has been really quiet for the Dead Cells developers. Like, I haven't really seen much about it. Maybe because it's in early access. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. They had 2 games that came out last year. They had the Rogue Prince of Persia, which
Oh,
was
yeah.
more Dead Cells like.
Yeah.
And then they had this. And I think both kind of came out with a bit of a shrug, even though a lot of people on our Discord have said that Rogue Prince of Persia game is actually like the real shit. But I guess because they
Ooh.
launched it in the same year that another Prince of Persia 2D game came out,
Yeah.
which is just a very odd decision from Ubisoft there, but fun game.
That's
Cool.
good.
Rachel, what about you?
So I didn't play many games. I think in December I just kind of chill out a bit. But I did play one which was really good. So much so that it might have made probably not my top 5, but like just outside, and that's
Ooh.
Crypt Custodian.
Oh,
yeah.
nice.
So for the Indie Game Awards, I was looking at the nominees, and I looked at Indie Game of the Year, and I'd played most of them except for this one, who's made by one person, Carl Thompson, and I was like, never played that. I think I saw it released like earlier in the year, but there's so much, so I didn't think much of it. Played it, it was so good. It's this like Metroidvania action atmospheric game where you play as a little cat who dies, and they end up in the afterlife, and you're kind of exploring these different like parts of the afterlife, but they're like really interesting and like cool. It's not like how you'd expect hell or the afterlife to be. It's a very cozy game. And you basically are a janitor. You're like cleaning up rubbish and stuff. And there's like monsters that you fight. But it's really cozy. It's like not that difficult. The story is very sweet. You meet different characters who are also in the afterlife. You learn more about their stories and how they ended up there. And essentially you're trying to band them all together so you can kind of like break out of the afterlife and into heaven. Because you're just a bunch of cute animals, and you just a bit mischievous in life, and so because of that, you ended up in one place instead of the other. And we all know that every pet on Earth always goes to heaven. So
Yes.
and it's just
Made a movie
really,
about that.
it's really cozy. It's really cute. It's a really great Metroidvania. Like, I'm not really one for Metroidvanias, but this one was just so, the atmosphere and the music. The music is so good. Like it's on my like rotation now permanently. It's just so vibey. It's like lo-fi chill hop beats to study to, but like really
hello.
nice. Yeah, it's it's so good. And yeah, I just had a really good time over Christmas with it. Played it over a couple of evenings, and I'm thinking about playing it again. And I don't normally think that. Like, it was just such a nice game, and I'm just like, I just want to play it more. I wouldn't mind just playing it again. So yeah,
Oh, wow.
Custodian. And yeah, it's been received really well, but again, not one that this is the line of the podcast always, isn't it? Not heard many people talk about it, but it was it was a real surprise. And no wonder it was up for an indie award. I was like, yeah, this absolutely deserves to be there. So
Yeah, I think I also heard about it at the same time as you from the Indie Game Awards at the end of last year.
yes,
And it's on my Steam wish list, and it seems to be pretty constantly getting a discount. So if that helps like nudge people towards it, then like it's heavily discounted on Steam pretty much all the time at the moment. So
it's 20% off right now, and you can also get it in a bundle with Death's Door, and that's the perfect bundle.
That is
right?
such a good
It did
duo.
sound very Death's Door when you were describing it.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to finish, Rachel?
Ooh, let me have a quick look. It wasn't that. There's a lot of collectibles, but it really wasn't that long. 8 hours, maybe even less. It's a very...
Oh, that sounds good.
Because I went after like every single collectible. I was like, I want to find all the photographs that tell you about the animals that they're told through Polaroids. And some of them are so sad. It's like, and there's like a really cute frog character. There's a really mischievous cat who graffitis different areas of the world. I played 10 hours. So I think 2 of those were like collectibles and 8 of them was just like the campaign. There's a great difficulty settings. You can make yourself invincible. You can make it harder. There are optional challenges. The combat is really crunchy. The dodge roll and the jump feel really nice. It's just a really cozy game. Very easy to play, very breezy, and a nice story that'll make you feel warm and fuzzy, and not too intense.
I was about to say you had me at the word crunchy, but actually you had me at when I think you tweeted about it in December, and I think the second you say game good, I say yes, Rachel, and I wishlist it immediately. So
it's fair.
It was really great.
I think my Steam wish list hit 400 this week, by the way.
Oh my god!
I think about 200 of those are Rachel recommendations. So
my goodness,
I know, right?
400.
Terrifying.
Oh.
Yeah,
Terrifying.
How about you, Rebecca? What did you play?
So because I had a lovely 2 weeks off over Christmas and I really needed some downtime, I spent a lot of time doing my sort of usual rounds. I played all of the Animal Crossing New Horizons Christmas events because I always will. I finished Honkai Star Rail 2.0 because 3.0 just came out and I really wanted to be all caught up before.
Wow.
I have been playing Danganronpa V3, which I am nearly at the end of ish, and I'll probably have some thoughts on that once I actually get to the end. But I don't know if I've hit the twist or not, because everyone goes nuts about the twist in this game, and I've hit a twist, which I didn't think was that big a deal. So I feel like there's still something else going to happen. And I played so much Power Wash Simulator that I've had to like stage a little intervention with myself and decide not to play anymore in January, because I was just like, it was getting to be a bit of a problem. So I've put Power Wash Simulator down until February, I've decided.
Nice.
So the only kind of like new and indie game that I played over Christmas was A Shelter Full of Cats, because that came out in early to mid-December, and I just really wanted to like save it for a nice little Christmas indie. So yeah, it's the latest game by Dev Cats, who are the, you know, fairly prolific sort of 2-3 games a year hidden object puzzle cat-based game studio.
So talented.
And yeah, it was so talented. I mean, like the fact that it's just 5 cats that make all those games is incredible. And yeah, Shelter Full of Cats is, you know, it's another one of their lovely, charming hidden object games. It's got kind of a bit of a story to it more than some of the others, so that was nice. It's also because, you know, their work is a lot to do with cat charities, and Shelter is specifically about taking care of special needs cats, which I thought was like, I felt edutained by this game. Yeah, it was very, very nice. It was a lovely, wholesome Christmas game. And it had me just going like, shall we foster 20 special needs kittens? Shall we do that? Shall we foster?
Yes, do it.
Shall we foster all the kittens?
Yes.
Yeah, so that was, it was lovely. But as I say, it was for me, because it was, you know, it was a fairly intense end to 2024 in terms of work and stuff. And so I mainly just was like, I'm not going to play anything that I don't actively want to play right in this moment. I'm not going to push myself. Like, Liam, I have so much respect for how many must-play titles you got through
dude, my
seemingly
God.
so happily over Christmas. I could not have done that this year, like, at all.
Honestly, I feel like I just went into I hadn't drank for like 3-4 months, and I was off my meds over Christmas, and I just drank sherry and ate a lot of mince pies and did not move from the city for 2 weeks.
The dream.
That's how I did it. At the expense
Incredible.
of every other aspect of my life.
So we've been playing some new January 2025 releases already, but we're going to save that for next week, where we've got an episode that's pretty much dedicated to that topic. So putting that aside for now, the main focus of this episode, this little foray into 2025, still scares the hell out of me that that's the year now, is we're going to talk about our most anticipated indie games of this year. Of course, it's the traditional way of kicking off any New Year's gaming endeavor. So Rachel, given that you had your finger on the pulse so much last year's best upcoming indies, I'm putting you on the spot. You're going first.
Okay, actually, before you kick off, just because you said that, I remembered something over Christmas and I forgot to message you about it. But at the end of 2023, when we just started Indieventure, we were having a chat, and I distinctly remember you saying, Rachel, I played too much in 2023. I'm going to try and play less in 2024. And let me tell you, it's not a resolution you stuck with, to the benefit of this podcast, may I say. Anyway,
God. That is so funny, because when we were thinking about whether we wanted to do that for this episode, I was like, maybe mine should be to play less next year. I never do it.
Every time you say that, you double the amount you play.
I know.
Yeah. Oh my God.
So my first pick is my most anticipated game of the year. I anticipate it might possibly be my game of the year. It's the sequel to one of my other games of the year from a couple of years ago. It is Citizen Sleeper 2, Starward Vector. I love the first Citizen Sleeper. It's probably one of my favorite sci-fi games ever, and definitely one of my top indies ever. So when they announced they were making a second one, I was very excited, because there's just so much more of that world to explore. And I've just never been this excited about a sequel before. So this is kind of the same premise as the first game. You play as a sleeper, a cybernetic body with a human mind inserted into it, which is under control by a corporation. The sleeper you play in the first game and in the second game have escaped their corporation and now have to survive in a world that's very gritty. It's very much about the gig economy. You as a individual need to pick up different jobs to survive, kind of scrounge around for food. And the way you do this is through dice rolls. You're given 5 dice each cycle, which is a day. You need to assign dice to different activities, and then you get results based on like how well you do. Citizen Sleeper 2 is the first game, but better. I've played the first 3 hours, so I can talk about it a little bit. It's essentially Citizen Sleeper 1, but instead of you being on your own, there's more of a focus in this game on community. And like that was a little bit in the first one, but this time you can actually pick up contracts. And these mean that you go to different satellites and different stations, and you're given work to do. But also you can hire people to join you, and they have their own skills, their own dice rolls. So you have a team of people you're working with this time.
Interesting.
I love that.
So, for example, the first mission is that you are sent into a really like dilapidated station to find the core mind of the station. You bring on people who you think you can trust, who are good at their job. And you need you have a certain amount of, you need to save up fuel to access there. You need to get rations so you can survive. You can eat while you're out there. So you have a timer based on how much rations you have. And you basically have to get this job done under that time period. Like,
I love that.
The Citizen Sleeper 1 was great, but there was a lot of tension at the beginning. But once you got your footing, the kind of rest of the game was quite easy if you knew what to do. And I didn't mind that. But this game is tense. It is tense off the mark. Like, you need to learn how to trust these people, but also assigning dice is so much more of a like decision. Like, you're really forced to make difficult decisions. There's also a mechanic where your dice rupture, which means that you can only get a base of one on a roll. You need to get your dice fixed. So there's like so much more elements in terms of like management, in terms of tension, but also story. The world is bigger. The people you meet are more intense. Like, it's just everything I wanted and more. And I'm really hope that it lands, because I'm really enjoying it so far. And I'm not someone who puts a lot of emphasis on endings, but Citizen Sleeper had a few endings which I thought were all amazing. So we'll see how we got on with 2. But I'm loving it. I'm just very excited. And I can't wait to play more. And it could be my game of the year. I'm saying it now. It could be. I'm really, really into it.
Awesome.
Right out the gate.
Right out the
Damn.
gate.
So good.
Yeah. Which is weird for a sequel for me. But it's just, I love the first game so much and I'm loving this one. So I'm very excited.
Amazing. I'm going to start this tomorrow because I'm also very excited to play it.
Ooh, yeah.
So I played 8 hours of the first one, and then my save, it hadn't saved on Xbox. I think I've spoken about this before.
Oh, yeah.
So we lost all of our progress. It reset us to 10 minutes into the game. So I never went back and did it because it was quite a lot of story to kind of go through again. Do I need to catch up on the ending of the first game, or is the second one separate?
No, this one is a different sleeper. It's a different
standalone.
Story. It's standalone, but there are callbacks, but not that you need to know of them. I think they're just for first-time players to be like, "Oh, that's what that character's doing." And sometimes they are. It is quite nice because there's one character, and I was like, "Oh my god!" So that was quite shocking-ish. So it is worth it, and also because this game's better, it might be worth playing the first game. Because if you play the second and then go back to number 1, it'll feel like
It might be harder.
Bit of a downgrade, but I don't mean like a downgrade. You know what I mean? It's just an extension of the first game.
I guess because it sounds like they've not fixed a lot of the issues with the first one, but they've definitely added more texture and tension from the sounds of it. So
and the story.
To the core mechanics.
The thing is, with the first one, you were on your own. So, but with Citizen Sleeper 2, you wake up and you've got amnesia, but someone is there with you. You have a history with this person that you do not remember, and it's so painful talking to them because they're grappling with this idea of like, you are close. I'm not sure how close, but you're very close. You don't remember anything about them, so you're trying to pick up context clues, and you can just see how painful it is for them to talk to you. And like the writing, it's so good. Yeah, I just think the drama, the tension, it's all there. I love it. It's Andor the game. If you liked Andor and hate all this other Star Wars shit like me, play this game.
This is just a reminder that I need to. The thing is, right, I need to play the first one because I know, as you say, that I know I have to play a series in order or I just won't go back. And I do want to play the first one. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I haven't seen Andor, but Rogue One is the only Star Wars thing that I have seen that I've been particularly like hooked on. So I've heard there of a continuum. So yeah.
Yes.
I mean, sci-fi excited. And feelings, it's right up my alley.
Yes.
That's a very good way of putting it. Exciting. Okay, and a Game of the Year contender as well. Interesting. On January 17th.
Yeah. A little teaser for the end of this episode, but I also have a little Game of the Year contender to bring.
Yes, you do, don't you?
Yeah.
I'm very excited to hear you talk about that.
But I'm gonna bookend it. I'm gonna bring mine at the end.
So who's next then?
I think Liam should go next.
Yes, I'm more than happy to go next. So the first game I want to talk about is Wanderstop by Ivy Road, which is the new studio that has some quite notable people in, such as Davey Reedon, who did was half the team that worked on Stanley Parable and the sole developer of The Beginner's Guide, which is one of my favourite games. Carla Zamonja, who was one of the people who wrote Gone Home, and C148, who was the musician who did the music for Minecraft originally.
God, what a team!
What a dream team. Dream team.
Also, in our best soundtracks episode, I kept calling C148 C14 or something, and I annoyed myself a lot listening back to that. I'm done. You all know this if you've listened for a while. So, Wanderstop is, on the surface, a cozy farming sim where you manage a tea shop. So you play a character called Alta, and you farm to get ingredients for this weird machine that makes specific teas, and interesting characters come into the tea shop, adventurers and people on travels, and you've got to make specific teas for them based on their personalities. However, the original trailer for this, which came out last year, I want to say during one of Jeff Keighley's summer things, it takes a turn half. So. Yeah, that feels right, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The twist in the trailer is that the main character, Alta, is a fallen fighter, and she doesn't want to be doing this, and she can't really sit still, and it feels really wrong and challenging for her to be the protagonist of a cozy farming sim. And when you've got a writer like Davey Reedon, who I think between the Stanley Parable and the Beginner's Guide has this incredible capacity for making some of the funniest, most some of the funniest observations about games on the market, but also some of the most devastating observations about games on the market. There's real potential here for a genuinely engaging and compelling farming sim that actually has like a real bit of narrative tension underneath, which is not something you normally get. I love the idea of it being like the act of playing it is very cozy, but the things it's giving you are kind of devastating. I just think it looks gorgeous. The caliber of the people who are working on it, you couldn't ask for a better dream team, really
can't. Yeah, this is one of mine as well, so we totally have overlapped. Absolutely. The Stanley Parable and the Beginner's Guide, we're gonna be seeing some fucked up shit. Like, honestly, it's gonna be and that I didn't know about the writer and the musician either. Like, I'm so fucking pumped because, well, that's the thing, isn't it? It's like you're tapping into a market, cozy games, which are massive right now, and so I'm looking for a commentary on that, and I think this is gonna be it. And I can't wait. And because in the trailer, she's like sitting down after like a day of like serving tea and planting, and she's getting like flashbacks, like trauma flashbacks, like PTSD, and it's like, what the fuck? What is happening? So I'm super, super excited about like what we're gonna see. Like, I'm really, really pumped. I also like the idea of like, there's a game I love called A Good Gardener, which takes the act of gardening and you're like gardening stuff, But as it grows, they kind of like they look like weapons. So one flower looks like a mace and one it's like a broadsword. And it actually turns out that the act of nurturing and gardening is being used to fund a war in some country that you're like a part of.
Wow.
And I want this to have the same commentary. Like I want plants and nurturing and gardening and tea making and coziness to have this kind of like whiplash, like exactly what you said. So I'm hoping for those levels because I love that game.
I'd love that. I'd also love the idea of using cozy games as escapism from your real life problems.
Yes.
I sort of feel like they might have a thread around that as well. Like is Alta is hiding from something that they're unable to kind of face and cope with. And I know for a fact that I have used games like Stardew Valley to do that. And I wonder if it's going to have a bit of a wry observation about that as an act that we all do. But yeah, I can't wait for this. Hopefully 2025. It's listed for 2025. Obviously, it probably goes without saying that a lot of these games will slip. But we wish all of the developers the very best.
100%.
Please give me Wanderstop immediately. Thank you.
God. Yeah, March, not that far.
Oh my goodness.
March. Oh, I didn't realize it.
I didn't realize there was a date on it. You know, it's funny.
11th of March.
I looked at my long list for this and I didn't put Wanderstop on mine because I knew for sure one of you would pick it, but I like both of you picking it is delightful.
I thought it might be a crossover. My long list for this episode was 88 games long.
Oh, wow. I thought my 50-something was impressive, but...
Okay, mine was 6.
So what will happen is I'll play 6, but you'll play 88. That's normally how this works.
And the 6 that Rachel said at the start will be the 6 best indie games.
Yes, everything she mentioned. But yeah, by the way, listeners, the games that Rachel mentions today will be the games of the year that all the other publications will talk about.
Oh, God. Rebecca, then.
Yeah, Rebecca, what's your first one?
You go.
Well, nice little segue there. Speaking of games that got pushed out of previous years, I want to give a few honourable mentions to games that I have talked about on past iterations of this episode format because I'm still super excited for them, things that didn't quite make 2024, which include like Demonschool, which is the turn-based RPG set in a school that's got a hellmouth under it. Obviously very my jam. That's been on my anticipated list since I heard about it in 2022, I think. Similarly, Tiny Bookshop, which is a cute little, very pastel, very like minimalist, but very cozy management sim where you manage a little mobile bookshop by the beach. Again, heard about it in 2022. In both cases, I'm just like, I've talked about them extensively on other episodes of this podcast. Like, shameless self-promotion, go back and listen to older episodes about what we're anticipating to hear more about those. There's not a lot more to say, so I don't want to go over them too much, but also like obviously wish the devs all the best. Like take as long as you need. These are going to be awesome games. I can't wait, but at the same time, I can totally wait. Don't worry about it. The other game in this kind of arena I wanted to talk about very quickly was Lost Records Bloom and Rage, which is the next self-published game coming from Don't Nod, who are the original creators of Life is Strange. They've also done tons of other games with various, like Life is Strange with Square Enix. They did Banishers Ghosts of New Eden with Focus Interactive last year, and they also did Jusant, which was their self-published debut, I believe, back in 2023. Lost Records was going to come out tail end of last year, but that ended up clashing with the new Life is Strange game, so they moved it because they were like, essentially, it was them going up against themselves, and they were like, this is dumb, so let's just not stress about that.
Yeah.
Like, I know they worked really closely with Deck Nine for quite, for like the handover of the franchise. I think there's like, I don't know what their relationship with Square Enix is now, but I think there's quite a lot of like goodwill between the two dev teams, so they don't seem to want to like step on each other too badly or anything. But yeah, Lost Records, I played a demo of it last summer. It was about a 2-hour demo. I don't know if, because I know that Rachel's you've played it more recently, haven't you, as well? I don't know if we played the same one.
The demo?
Yes.
No, I've not played the demo.
Oh, I misunderstood. Oh, you saw a preview, but not. Oh, you're not been hands-on. It's so good. It's really good. It's got this sort of delightful, because like, okay, so with the latest Life is Strange, Rachel didn't like it. I loved it, but not for the reasons that I loved the rest of the series. But I think that in both cases, Lost Records is going to satisfy our relationship with the original Life is Strange while still being its own thing. It's a super, like, it's about millennial girlhood, which obviously both of us have like a very strong relationship too, because it was literally our lived experience. So it's really interesting to see that being reflected, and it's very, influenced by things like Stephen King novels, which like I had to keep saying I totally called this game's existence years ago in a Stephen King article.
Yeah.
I'm so proud of that. Another thing though I wanted to just like say about this was I kind of flip-flop back and forth on whether I want to talk about this on the podcast, because it is Don't Nod. They've worked with these huge publishers, and I'm like, they have definitely produced games that are, if not AAA, button up against like the AAA, AA barrier. But at the same time, because they are still an independent studio, they're not owned by any bigger company that I'm aware of. Hope that's right. God, imagine me doing some research before this. Couldn't happen.
No, I think it is right. Yeah, because I looked it up recently. Yeah,
they are independently owned. Yeah, and they aren't always affiliated with the publisher. They sort of work with who's best to work with, and they have self-published before. This is, I believe, their second self-published game, and I just think that's like in the current gaming kind of, the industry as it is, the fact that the last 2 years saw like massive amounts of layoffs. Don't Nod haven't been immune to that. I think they cut about 20% of their workforce last year, which obviously is like not
25%,
ideal.
wasn't it? It's a quarter.
They're striking.
It was, and they're on strike right now. So obviously, like, there's a lot of, it's not to say, oh, this is like a beautiful, ideal situation that's like immune from that because they're self-owned. But at the same time, anything that kind of pushes back against that consolidation that does, create so many of those layoffs, that uncertainty, I still kind of, I have respect for what a studio is trying to do, and I kind of feel like I am inclined to give more leeway when the independent project goes off the rails than when a massive corporation lays off 25% of its workforce. I don't know if that's like a controversial take, but it is my belief that the independent control from the artists as much as possible is probably preferable given the last few years we've seen, even though obviously it comes with its own challenges. I don't know, maybe I'm just spitballing here, but I feel like highlighting when a bigger independent studio is trying to do the independent thing is still worth talking about on this podcast. So that's kind of, thought it was worth firming up my stance a little bit on where we stand on that kind of AAA arena, especially because I have thoughts on whether the whole AAA continuum is even real anymore, but that's for another podcast probably. But I've been looking into it lately and I'm not sure it exists. Anyway.
This is firmly AA and it's something you like. So of course it's something we can talk about on the podcast.
And like I'm very excited for it, obviously. But like to bring it back to,
it does look great, yeah.
To bring it like back to the the game itself and whatever you think of how Don't Nod are managing themselves, and obviously I'm not inside that situation, so I don't know the ins and outs of it really, but like, my absolute sympathy with the workers who were striking. But yeah, within the game, it's obviously like lessons learned from Life is Strange. It's a, very immersive adventure game in the same vein. It's gonna go some places, and I still have no idea what those places are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm really excited for this one.
Like, I think for me, with Lost Records of Bloom and Rage, I want it to go in the direction of Yellow Jackets and not Strange Things. Like, don't get me wrong, I love Teens with Powers, but I also like the more abstract kind of like what's happening. So I want them to go in that direction.
It's really inspired by It, by Stephen King's It, which I think is really promising in terms of they're just going to be ordinary people in an extraordinary situation.
Yeah. And I love that it's a group of girls. I love seeing groups of girls be goofy and having fun and like skateboarding. The writing is so good, yes. And so like I'm really looking forward to that. I love the time jump. Again, very Yellow Jackets, the 25 years. Was it 27 years later?
27 years, yeah.
Oh, we're getting like a parcel. Ooh, like I love that. So I'm looking forward. And I'm it's a Don't Nod, so hopefully they'll tackle some really important subject matter. I'm not sure what that is. Well, we got a bit of a hint in the trailer, so I'm really looking forward to that. I just want Life is Strange back because I did not like the most recent one, and I think Bloom and Rage will fill the Life is Strange hole in my heart because
absolutely,
God, it looks so fucking good.
It does. And also, it's really nice to note that they have, and this is no intended shade because I love the original Life is Strange, as we all know. They have actually hired some women to write the female characters this time, which is, a nice. It's the writers of, I believe it's the writer of Tacoma and the writer of Wildflowers. Are the narrative leads this time. So
cute.
There's a little bit less like Hella Baguettio to it, which is the joke about the American teenage girls being written by middle-aged French men in the original Life is Strange.
Maybe this is revisionist history on my part, but I can't remember the Hella thing being as big a deal back in 2014 or 15 when that game came out. Or was it? Was it always a bit of a meme?
To be fair, I came to that series 2-3 years late, so I was probably at peak meme time when I got into it. Because I started in 2017, 2018 when Before the Storm came out. I played it all the first two together.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So it's possible that it was at the point in the fandom life cycle when that was getting memed to shit because they say Hella a few times. It's because they say it in the wrong context, I think, more than how often
And it's just teenagers being awkward, and it was Chloe, and she was trying to be cool. It was just like
honestly, it works. The dialogue is a little bit stilted sometimes in the Don't Nod Life is Strange games because again it was kind of like people writing outside of their own voice in a slightly clunky way, but like
it works because they're teenagers.
It works.
When they're adults,
totally.
It doesn't work.
Yeah, but you can tell that Deck 9, one of the sort of revolutionary ideas Deck 9 had when they took over the series was like letting women write it.
It feels too radical for me. I don't really understand that. I think I should write Life is Strange. I think that would...
You don't relate to 90s millennial girlhood, Liam? Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
Yeah, come on, man.
You're one of the girlies. You can write a Life is Strange.
100%. You're an honorary sister. I've said it before. I'll say it again.
Yes, you're part of the sisterhood.
I couldn't write Life is Strange because I'm aware that me doing so would be ridiculous, which is why I don't work for Don't Nod circa 2014. But yes, very, very excited for that. Are we back to Rachel?
It's going to be good. Back to Rachel, I believe.
Back to me. So are we not going to talk much about Demonschool? Because that was my other one.
You can go Demonschool because I feel like I've said what I need to say about it, but say some stuff and we'll get hyped up again like we did earlier and we'll just be screaming at each other for 3 hours.
To be honest, we have talked about it a lot on the podcast when it was supposed to come out and then what we were hoping was going to come out. And like you said, absolutely, let them cook. It will come out when it's ready. But yeah, Demonschool was another one of mine. I'm just really looking forward to it. I like supernatural stuff. The turn-based combat was great. I played a demo at PAX with you, Liam, and then there was one that was part of the Steam Festival recently.
Yeah.
Anyway,
it was at a recent Steam Next Fest because that's when I finally got my hands on it. So
right, cool. So yeah, it's just about a bunch of college kids who... are going to college during the day, and then at nighttime they fight ghouls and ghosts and demons, and it's really funny and it's really cool, and it's very Persona meets Scooby-Doo meets turn-based tactics, and it just looks great. And from what we've played, I just love beating up that giant skeleton head who's like coughing out demons, and you're just like, and you play like one of the characters is Faye, who's like this super buff girl with pink hair, and I fucking love her, and like she just beats the shit out of these demons, and I'm just so into it. So we've been waiting on this a couple of years now, but like we said, let them cook. But I'm just really excited. It just looks really great. Also, the soundtrack, it's like I know I keep banging on about this, but it's like church choral music with like electronic dance music, and it's the best shit I've like heard in so long. It's like Miami's Roller Mobster, where they have the church chorus, like something like sinful is like happening, or something like, it's just really, it just hits so good. The whole game has this really cool like purple pinky glow to it. The characters, when they do special attacks, comic book panels with them in like dynamic poses, like slap onto the screen in a really satisfying way. But the story is very much like, we got to close the Hellmouth, which I don't mind at all. Not sure where the story's going to go from there. We'll see. Probably there's going to be a huge evil big monster at the end, and they have to kick the shit out of them. And I'm fine with that. I'm happy. I just want to kick demons in the face and play as a girl with pink hair and big muscles. So I'm good. So,
I mean, it looks so good. I mean, it was the visuals and the soundtrack that caught my attention in that first trailer, and obviously the fact that every aspect of its story is just exactly catnip to me.
Yes, it really is.
Hugely. So but
I really want one of the party members to be like a demon girl who joins
that'd be
them.
fun.
I'm gonna channel my Rebecca, because Rebecca is a prophet when it comes to her favorite game series, as I've come to know, over Danganronpa and Life is Strange.
Life is Strange.
So I'm channeling my inner Rebecca, and I really want them to have a demon or zombie character join
That'd
the
be fun.
team. And so you have the humans and maybe
that would be
one
cool.
supernatural being.
That's true, because we've only seen the sort of 4 core party members, I think, so far. But I feel like there's going to be more
That'd be
characters.
fun.
I'm putting it out. What's it
Right.
called? I'm manifesting.
Asking the universe for the secret.
I'm putting it out there. So yeah, Demonschool is another one for me.
I'm going to be really excited as well to get your take on this game as someone who has only recently watched Buffy for the first time. I think your experience of those tropes.
Oh shit, yeah! I got halfway through season 2 and then I stopped because I didn't want to play for Disney anymore.
Fair.
Yes. But I would say you've seen enough to kind of be like, I'm coming at it from the point of view of someone who was so grew up on Buffy that when I saw the trailer, I was like, oh, that's a very like anime take on
that's
Buffy,
what I felt
basically.
like as well. Yeah.
As a kind of high level.
Very, very
pitch.
Buffy.
Okay, right, Liam.
My next game is Promise Mascot Agency by Kaizen Gameworks, the developers of Paradise Killer. It's their long-awaited follow-up, long-awaited by me. 5 years is not that long, but I wanted their next game immediately after finishing Paradise Killer. So this is... I was always going to be 100% on board with whatever that team did next, because Paradise Killer left such a strong impression on me in 2020. But they have made exactly my kind of shit with Promise Mascot Agency. So you play as Michi, who's an ex-Yakuza lieutenant, and you're banished to like this small town called Kasomachi. I have here in my notes. And you're instructed to take over a floundering mascot agency. Now, mascots are very big in Japan. They're basically people in big suits, like sweaty blokes operating them like a felt mech. But in this game, they're sentient and like creatures that live within the world. So in the Promise Mascot Agency you take over, there's just like a giant thumb monster that becomes like your right-hand creature, I guess. And you go around this town in a little truck. The thumb sits in the back of the truck. And you complete... and not really battles. I'm quite interested in. So you're trying to like save these mascots to bring them back to the agency. But the way that you save them is you are put in a situation where like one can't get through a door or one is trying to like cook something. And then you're given a bunch of cards, like a deck builder, and you've got to use these different cards to like manage the situation and then get the mascot out of it, which looks very weird and interesting. But I quite like the idea of using a deck building battle system in like a social situation. I know that Clay did that with their game from a few years ago. I can't remember the name of it, but they did like a social deck builder. Oh, I need to find the name of that game. Sorry. What was that called? But it looks very, very similar to that game that left such an impression on me. I'm Googling it right now. Oh, Claymick.
Like sometimes the title's not memorable. Okay. It's just,
well, yes.
that can happen.
The game is called Griftlands, so it's not memorable. It's a very generic name.
No.
But I heard it was good. So yeah, I think this looks great. It has big Deadly Premonition vibes, which I'm an absolute sicko for, in that you're driving around a slightly jank open world with a bunch of odd things happening. And it looks like the main character is played completely serious as like this ex-Yakuza, but then he's surrounded by these like quite gross mascots. And I just love it. I love that if this lands and is as good as it looks, I feel like Kaizen Gameworks is going to really establish themselves as just a creator of true originals. You know, they're not, it doesn't look like they're, you know, they could have just done another detective game. They could have done Paradise Killer 2 or a spin-off of Paradise Killer, but they haven't. They've made this really unique thing. And to pick up where like Suda 51 put down, but you know, they're operating very much in the same space as like Suda 51 and Swery. And Swery's a voice in this, actually, by the way. They announced that this week.
Oh, really?
So
Oh,
was Sho
awesome.
Yoshida as well, the PlayStation executive who's just retired from PlayStation. He's voicing a character.
Oh my
That's
God.
So
Incredible.
good.
I love it when this
It's
stuff
the best.
happens. It's just
But yeah, pretty
Yeah.
good for a bunch of people from Scotland making cool shit. So yeah, very excited for Promise Mascot Agency.
that is
The mascots look so fucking cursed. The crying block
Awful.
at
I just had a
Tofu
quick
Stuck at the door.
is
Oh, is that-
grim.
Is that a Resident Evil reference?
It probably is actually, and I didn't pick up on that. Oh, time to walk into the sea immediately.
Oh no, I've killed Liam. I'm so sorry.
An honourable death.
And it's like got a bite taken out of it. Ew!
yeah, it does, doesn't it?
There was-
I mean, Japanese mascots are always a bit like that. You have incredibly cute shit, but also sometimes it loops around into being fucking
Yeah.
creepy. Like, and this
Yeah.
is definitely one of those times.
Yeah, awful.
The
Oh,
thumb
man.
is so the thumb, but specifically the thumbnail on the thumb is just
Oh god.
a bit too
Yeah.
long and a bit too grim, and yeah, and it looks like it's been
Oh.
chopped off. Like there's like blood underneath it. Ew.
Wait,
Oh,
is
God.
there? I don't think I picked up on that.
In one of the screenshots, it's like the bottom of it. Oh, it's like nail varnish. It's got like a star nail varnish, which is really cool. But look, there's like kind of blood underneath it. There's like red.
Oh
like
yeah,
been
when it's in the
chopped
back
off.
of the truck.
There's one as well when it's like you can see it closer when there's like there's a robot called Captain Sign.
Oh, it
Who,
is
who looks
blood.
like
You're right.
he has traffic signs as
Oh,
shields.
yeah, he does.
I don't-
This is going to be incredible.
Oh yeah, this is gonna be fucking bonkers and yeah,
can't
incredible. And so looking
Wait,
forward to it.
like yeah,
Yes.
let them cook. I hope that comes out this year. But I'm gonna be in fucking sufferal about that game when it comes out. Get used to that.
That's going to be. Oh, I'm really happy for you that there's going to be. It's just like,
Thank you.
as you say, a Paradise Killer sequel would have been nice, but there's just something about the weird magic that is this. I just had a quick look because
Yeah.
I'd not heard of this one before, and I just had
Oh,
a
I
quick
did
look
not.
at the I don't want to say thumbnail because now there's got a really cursed like implication to it. I had a quick look at the screenshots on Steam, and I was like, I need to stop looking because I will drift off into my own little like horrified but fascinated world. So I have to look more later. But yeah,
Yeah, enjoy.
so good.
So good.
Oh, I can segue again. I'm speaking of follow-ups to games that we
yeah.
love. That's actually my next little themed segment. We're not doing a focus bit yet because I have so many games I want to talk about, and I found a way to jam them into quite a short amount of time. Yeah, I wanted to like talk a little bit about sequels and like follow-ups that are coming out this year that I'm excited for. Monster Prom 4 being a really
Oh, of
obvious big
course.
one that's I think they're still targeting March or April for like the demo build. I don't know if that's going to be Kickstarter backers only. Obviously, I'm a Kickstarter backer, but like hopefully with like a sort of spring target for that, the full game should be out by the end of the year. Fingers crossed, because it looks like a really fun one. They're going back to the original sort of like dating sim, but like 4-player dating sim like format that they did for the first couple of games, but this one's set at a convention. That's going to be quite fun, and obviously more Monster Prom shenanigans. I love it. There's another one that's also not even, I don't think it's even confirmed for a 2025 window, but I'm just excited, so I want to mention it. It's Strange Antiquities,
Oh, of course.
Oh
yeah.
yes.
the follow-up to Strange Horticulture, like Strange Horticulture, mystery, spookiness, cats, and coziness. It's going to be great. It seemed fairly far along in development when they announced it last year, but I don't want to, put too much on that. But we look forward to seeing more of it. I'm pretty sure it's not just me here who's excited for Strange Antiquities.
Yeah, for sure.
But again, I don't know much more about it other than the fact that it's a sequel to Strange Horticulture and in an antique shop. But what I did want to touch on a little bit, just as a kind of theme, is that there are quite a few indie life sims that are targeting 2025 for their early access release. Paralives, of course, being the kind of the famous one. And there's also Vivaland and Alterlife are the other two
Oh.
that are a bit more. I'll dig into it. Obviously, like The Sims, kind of my first like big gaming love, or one of my first. And like I still cover The Sims so much for work. It's been a huge constant throughout my life as a gamer, starting when I was like 10. And it's never really had much competition, seriously. In like,
No.
it's the only game that's kind of doing life simulation to this extent. But this year might be the year that kind of all changes, which would be really exciting. Because competition is healthy, and also because it's like the 25th anniversary of The Sims this year, and it would just be nice to start seeing that.
Woo!
It's actually next month. I've got a load of stuff coming through the pipeline at work for
Ooh,
it, so that's going to be
excellent.
exciting as well.
Yes.
Yes. Go to vg247.com in early February if you want to see what we're cooking for that. Got to cross-pollinate the old
I like that.
the old promos. But yeah, Paralives is probably the one I'm most excited for. Like, so there was another one, sort of AAA coming through, Life by You, that was actually cancelled really close to release last summer.
Yeah, that was a shame.
So that's kind of off the table. There are a couple of unnamed ones in very early development. And of course, there's Tiny Life, which was one of my favorite indie games of 2023, which is literally a one-person pixel art riff on the Sims 1, which was fantastic. But in terms of the sort of like slightly bigger but still indie takes on this genre, Paralives is kind of the pinnacle, right? That's the one that everyone's been... I think it was announced in 2019. The interest in it has been like wild. People are hungry for an alternative to The Sims, to just see what else can be done with the format, to kind of, even though I love The Sims, to kind of see EA lose their complete chokehold on the genre would obviously be good for everybody involved. Paralives is a really interesting one though, because for so long, for saying that it's been in open development for like 6-7 years now, there's not really, so far it's basically been some very pretty tech demos, and the opportunity to actually get hands-on with this is going to really be like the make or break moment for the, I think almost for the whole concept of like high quality, like quite big indie productions of, you know, alternatives to The Sims. I think the reason that Paralives stands out ahead of, for me at least, ahead of things like Vivaland and Alterlife is that those two games are both doing what Life by You did, which is trying to emulate the sort of like almost trying to be realistic graphics of The Sims 3. It didn't really work for The Sims 3, in my opinion. So, like, while I wish them all the best, I'm like, it's a little bit quick. Whereas Paralives has a beautiful like visual stylization to it. It's like a sort of like comic book cartoon look almost, which I think just looks so nice. They've put a lot of videos up, and no one has been hands-on with a demo in 7 years, to the best of my knowledge. So there's a lot of I am super, super interested to see how this turns out, but I don't have much else that I can say about it right now. But it looks super interesting, and if it is,
they
like,
pull it off,
exactly.
Sucks as shit.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like, it's been, you know, obviously because it's Patreon funded, and like that Patreon has done wild numbers since 2019. And I'm just like, it would be, as you say, if they pull it off, that's like the most beautiful thing, is actually like crowdfunding from the ground up. This essentially a very like high-end 2020s remake of The Sims 1, which is what I more or less think this is going to be. So...
I'm so skeptical. I'm
so
skeptical, but I mean, fingers crossed.
I know, right? I mean, maybe it's going to be... I was very skeptical when they were like 5 years deep and no one had seen anything. I was like, what's going on?
Yeah.
But now that they're like targeting a release window and they've said a bit more about like their roadmap for it, I'm getting a bit more hype again for what they're sort of planning. They seem like what they've said tells of very good intentions to try and break the kind of live servicey model that EA are moving towards with The Sims. So, you know, it would be really interesting to see how those two sit on the market together. We've got to wait and see. We've got to wait and see. As I say, it may be coming through that this is not something I'm hyped for, or something I'm intensely interested in. But I am extremely interested to see where this year goes in live Sims in general.
So it looked like they did... I went down a rabbit hole while you were talking there, because I'm so interested in this just as a concept. Because you're right, it's just it's so rare in the video game industry for people not to tackle, you know, make their own version of something as popular as The Sims. But I guess it makes sense why people have always struggled when The Sims has had such a long head start. Paralives looked like it was at a gaming convention last year. They had a demo there, which is interesting.
Could have been.
So the public got their hands on it.
What I was at.
But if you pay for the Patreon, do you not get to play an early build? That's normally what supporting on Patreon.
Honestly, I don't know. I know that I've never heard from anyone who has played a build, and I have attempted to look for people who've played them.
So the public have, but press haven't?
Potentially.
If you pay £8.50 a month, you get access to work in progress screenshots on Discord.
Yeah, their Reddit has been, at least in the past, so locked down, the subreddit for this game, which is that you could get banned for, like, trying to get people to talk to you about what they'd seen from behind the paywall.
Interesting.
So, like, I don't know. It's hard to ascertain details from the outside.
It looks more complete it looks more like a game than it ever has. I've
Yeah.
been following this for a long time, but haven't checked in for a while. I've just watched some trailers on Steam while you were chatting there, and it looks like it has a lot of the social interaction stuff, and the character customizer is superb, especially with that art
It's
style.
so good.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
very, very.
They claim realistically to have nailed variable heights, which is something The Sims has always struggled
Oh
with.
my God.
interesting.
If they've pinned that down, honestly, like character creation nerd over here, if they've pinned that down, that is
That'd be amazing.
so.
Yeah, I'm the same. I'm cautiously optimistic about this. I think even having the ambition to try is reason enough to be celebrated. It's a shame that the one from
Hell
last
yeah.
year, what was it called again? Life by You,
Life by
fell
You,
apart.
yeah.
But I've just looked into Vivaland and Alterlife. I'm not going to lie to you. The characters in that, both of them don't look like real games. I really don't mean that in a harsh way, but both of them do not look like things that actually exist in the real world. And the characters in them look exactly like the characters I always see on those like sex games that are new and trending on Steam quite a
I
lot.
know exactly what
yes,
you mean.
thank you. I'm glad you do.
So-
like,
They look like house party characters. 100%.
yeah, but like
They-
slightly more cursed. Like, from
Yes,
whatever the
well,
asset
the
pack that
thing-
everyone.
it's telling how starved the Life Sim fandom is for like new content. That if you go onto like r/Life Sims, all of these games are given equal weight against The Sims because there is just like so much of an
Yeah,
appetite
for something new.
Mm.
that will, you know, just do something slightly differently, just kind of like revive the genre a little bit from the. I mean, as I say, genuinely no shade. Still love The Sims so much, but it is on a path, and nothing is going to break that like very narrow
Yeah.
path until something else comes in and occupies the space with it.
They can do what they want.
That's the problem.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
why the enshittification of The Sims is becoming such a problem. The fact that they've said you're not getting Sims 5, we're just going to keep milking The Sims 4 forever because live service. Do you like that, shareholders? Thank you. So
Yeah.
if Paralives comes out, I think if Paralives is playable at the bare minimum, I think it's going to carve out a
Yes.
huge amount of The Sims 4's audience.
Yeah, I mean, I literally don't know what's going to happen with this because one of the reasons that they gave for keeping The Sims 4 as a legacy game, obviously there is that huge shareholder element, as you say, but there's also the fact that every generation of The Sims, there has been greater pushback to buying the expansions that are needed to then bring it back in line with the last generation. And so
It's
they're like,
so
what if we
shit they
didn't
do
do
that.
that?
Oh,
Exactly. But I mean, like,
grim.
I do understand the alternative being we make a game that is the size of the 12 games that we released under the last generation's umbrella. Like, basically, this is a rod that EA made for their own backs in 2000, 2001 without
Yeah.
really realizing that 25 years later, they were going to be at that Morton's fork of not having any good options left.
It's fascinating. Yeah.
It is. I mean, obviously, you can tell I'm really interested in the history of all of this. So I'm interested in the future of it. That's how it goes.
That I could talk about that for an hour, so maybe we should move on.
Yeah, maybe we should move on.
but
We should
very
definitely move on.
interesting. I don't like that I've seen the people in Alterlife. Rachel, are you next?
Yeah, no. Okay, Alterlife is probably my least hype
Oh.
one, and like I'm not super hyped for Vivaland, so let's just. Put it
I
on
don't like to say bad things about games I haven't played, but it looks rank.
Ew.
there. It does not look super inspiring compared to some of the other things on the market, but I'm still obviously going to give it a
much
go.
better way of
if
saying
and
it
when
than
it
me.
comes
Thank
out. So-
It looks like shit. Anyway, okay, my game. I've not even Googled it. I'm just assuming.
Just guessing.
Yeah, so when I was looking up my wish list for games that I was like anticipating for the year, I had a few in mind, so I wrote those down. This was one that I forgot about, but now I remember it. I'm so fucking excited,
Oh.
and that is Morsels.
Oh yeah.
Ooh.
By Focula, and it's being published by Annapurna, which is the most batshit bonkers trailer you've ever seen in your life.
So
You
good.
play it as this like small rat who tumbles into the sewers, and it's kind of like a creature collecting sim in that you like kind of gather different morsels to your party, and you have to like fight through these different sewer biomes against like I guess a league of like cats, like killer cats that are like trying to stop you. And it just sounds really cool. But the main thing is the art style looks so fucking good. It's like pixel art, but like everything has this like weird hypnotic neon sheen over the top. And it's kind of like like different biomes in the sewers, but it's like top down, and it's just the creatures that you meet look so fucking ugly. Like there's this toad with like bulbous eyes who like runs a shop, I think, and he just looks really horrible and gross. And like the morsels you collect are like weird flowers and like a little squish ball with an eye. Like it just looks really stylistically cool. The world looks really interesting. The gameplay, it does that thing where it's like, oh, it's an action roguelike and creature collecting sim, so fuck knows what it's actually going to end up being. It's like all of the genres, but it just looks like a lot of fun. And if there's one thing I always go on with like just playing a game out of pocket, it's just how it looks.
Yeah.
And I probably will, even if I don't end up like really gelling with the game mechanics, I just think that art style, I just want to see more of these characters. I want to be more in this world. It looks like a cursed like RPG Maker game, like that you would like stumble upon on itch and be like, wow, these like pixel graphics absolutely pop off and this game is like so wild. So yeah, I'm just really looking forward to that. And it's just shot up straight to the top of my list. Like, it just looks really great. And it's out February. So next month. That's what the trailer says. Don't know if that's, still going to be true. But whatever. This game looks awesome. So yeah.
It looks so good. I love the idea of finding new creatures and then becoming them to tackle different situations.
Yes.
I think that looks really good. It looks a lot like a game I loved from 2020 called Atomicrops. I don't know if you played that.
Oh, yeah. You know what? It could be the same artist.
Yeah, I wonder if it is. It looks so similar, but it's not the same developer. So maybe it is the same artist that's moved studios.
This is just a lot grosser looking than Atomicrops.
It looks brilliant.
Which looks nuclear. It looked like it was like a game that had like radiation poisoning.
Yeah, this somehow looks more. It's crazy.
Yeah, and this is like the next level of that.
Yeah. Very
just the
excited
animation looks nice, and there's just like fucked up shit. I'm like, what am I looking at? It's like a big, it's like muck from Pokemon, but like it looks like a pile of shit, but with eyes and a mouth, and there's an angry pigeon. I have no clue. It just looks cool.
I love there's a screenshot of an eel. Like I assume it's the shopkeeper in this game, but the eel is like 30 times bigger than the shop. So it's just his head's hanging out the door and he's just sort of chilling. It's very funny.
Not too cheap.
Yeah, not too cheap is what it's called.
So yeah, I love a creature collecting sim, and this one looks cool.
You do.
So yeah. Morsels. Although with Annapurna, question mark. What the fuck's going on over there?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I know we don't really.
What is happening?
The last I heard, citation very much needed, is that maybe the people who work there are now, they've got all of their clients back and are making their own thing after being laid off. Oh, wait, is that Private Division? Maybe that was Private Division. A lot of shit happened last year in this industry.
We can't keep up
so
with
much shit happened, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Anyway, well,
hopefully February.
as we always say, let them cook, but this looks really fucking good, so
it does.
Fingers
it looks
crossed.
Superb.
Liam!
I don't know why I repeat my own name back to you. So, I've had such a busy week. I remember when Friday afternoon recordings were like us at our most feral, and now they're me at my most tired.
You're most vulnerable.
My most vulnerable. If you want to do massive damage to my weak point, attack me while recording a Friday evening episode. I'm just going to do a Rebecca for my last section, and I'm going to list out a bunch of honourable mentions that I couldn't cut off my shortlist. So, first of all, Dream Settler, the sequel to Hypnospace. Is 2025 the year this comes out? Who knows? Let Jay Tholen cook. I wish him all the best. I can't wait for this. Next, we have Skate Story. This is by Sam Eng.
Oh, yeah.
Published by Devolver. This is a gnarly skateboarding game where, in the words of the game's trailer, you're a demon made of glass and pain. And you're trying to kickflip your way out of hell. And it's a very...
Beautiful.
A very, it's a very interesting looking, a very cursed looking skateboarding game in its visual style. It's very grimy and neon and like a bad VCR videotape of a CGI nightmare. But it's also like, as a skateboarding game, it just seems very unique to me in that the camera is very low down. You're very like close to the skateboard.
Yeah.
And I'm just really curious about how that feels in the hand when you're playing it from that perspective rather than much higher. So you've got more of a, a different perspective, like in Tony Hawk's. The next is Metropolis 1998 by Yesbox Studios. This is a classic city, but it's a city builder built in the classic SimCity style. So it looks very much like SimCity 2000, which is extremely my shit. But it's also crossed with The Sims in that it's a much more smaller scale city builder where you don't just plonk down zones and then buildings rise up, or you don't even just plonk down buildings. You build the buildings and you do the interiors of them. So if you build a house, you build the house and you put the interiors in, and then people come and move in and they go to work, and you do that for the whole city, for all the commercial buildings, things like that. Lovely, big, chunky pixels. I haven't played it, but I think I've read an article that said that there's no management layer in there right now. At the moment, it's literally just like a little cute, cozy simulation, but the developer wants to put a SimCity style management layer in. But I think even if it was just the creation aspect, we've seen a lot of games like My Summer House and Tiny Glade, which
just thinking those exact two games.
yeah, the things that people just like building things. Sometimes they don't want the additional tension of a management layer. And the last game is a game I can't wait to play because I just think if it's anything like the original, it'll have a feral energy that will catapult me into the sun, which is Streets of Rogue 2 by Matt Dabrowski. Have either of you played the original Streets of Rogue?
No.
It was a really, really ambitious game that actually did kind of like live up to all of its promises. I didn't play enough of it. That's why I'm more excited to dive into the sequel. But it's a 2D roguelike, but with like a bunch of immersive sim elements in it. And it's like this fully simulated, well, the first game was a city, the second game is an island. And you can pick from a bunch of different characters, and each character has a set of skills that lets you interact with the world in different ways, like a chef who can cook things, or a soldier who starts with a gun. And then you run around this city like GTA, where everything, just so much shit is popping off because it's simulated, but in a chaotic way. And then you can like get new abilities that let you do crazy stuff. Like you might become like a huge like 8-foot creature, or you can like go really fast. And it has like the synergies of a roguelike with like the immersive sim, simulated sort of systemic systems of something like a System Shock. It was wild. It was absolutely wild. And this new one just looks even wilder. And the plot of this one is to overthrow the president.
Love it.
And
love that.
If it's anything like the original, you'll be able to do it in so many inventive and wild ways. So really excited for that. That was meant to come out at the end of last year, but Matt delayed it until early 2025, I think they said. So give me Streets of Rogue 2. It'll be an assault on the senses, and I will love every second of it. So yeah, bit of a barrage of games there, shit. But yeah, it does, doesn't it? Yeah.
Absolutely.
But very, very excited for them. It takes us back to you, Rebecca.
Oh gosh, yeah. And yeah, rounding it out with my early game of the year. Got my eyes on it. It is too early, I think, on January the 17th to declare it this definitively, but we can certainly say. So yeah, this is a game that we've definitely talked about on the podcast before because Rachel played a demo last summer.
Yes.
It's called Blueprints. It is developed by, is it Dogabomb? It is not Dogabomb, which is what I was saying for a while. It is Dogabomb. And published by Real Fury, who have done a lot of cool games, including delightfully the Moomins game that came out last year. I love that Real Fury published the Moomins game.
They did. Snufkin. Was it Snufkin?
But yeah, Blueprints.
Yes, that was it.
Blueprints came up just as like a little bit of backstory to how I got into this game. I was really not very well over the weekend. It came up a stream of it by a streamer that I like came up, so I put that on. And friend of the podcast, Mick, was in the kitchen and was like, I can hear you making suggestions as to how this streamer needs to proceed, which is not usual for you. Do we need to go and download this game? And I was like, no, it's not out yet. And he's like, well, how's she playing it? I'm like, it's a demo. He's like, is the demo still up? And I went, the demo is still on Steam. So I have now played 6 hours of it in the last week, despite being quite horrendously ill for a lot of it.
Wow.
So yeah, Blueprints is I can't remember which one's roguelike and which one's roguelite, because as we established recently, I don't really know this genre very well. But
roguelite?
When you start a new run, do you keep anything over for the next one?
You can, but you usually don't. Then it's except your knowledge.
Then it's a roguelike? If you don't carry anything over, it's a like. If you do, it's a light, I believe is the terminology. Video games are bad. Anyway, sorry, go on.
This was my understanding, but I didn't trust my understanding until you just said it. So thank you for confirming that for me. But yeah, to think that I wouldn't have, started the whole wedding witch meme if I'd only known this game a few months ago is quite like our lives would have diverged so badly. But yeah, anyway, to actually get on to describing this game, because I do love it. You play as a young man named Simon who has just inherited his sprawling family mansion from his great uncle who's recently died. It's a pretty standard setup. He's got to go to the mansion and uncover its secrets within X number of days, I think, in order to get his full inheritance. But there are some provisos, including that he can't spend the night there. It's such a clear horror setup, which is what I love, because it's not a horror game, but it does have that kind of like Gone Home, What Remains of Edith Finch, like uneasiness to it throughout. It feels a lot like those games where you're exploring an empty family home. But the USP here is kind of based, maybe not, it must be based on the board game Betrayal at the House on the Hill, because that's the only other time I've seen this mechanic used, where you're every time you basically open a door, you draw a card in the board game, or just like it is essentially you draw a card in this video game as well, and
you
that
choose
determines
as well.
You do, yeah. You get a choice of 3 different rooms that door can lead to, and the end goal is you're trying to get through basically 9 levels of this house to the mysterious 46th room at the end, which is where your inheritance apparently is going to be. So there's so many things that I want to tackle about this game. Like I say, it looks really great. And if you do like walking sims like Gone Home or What Remains of Edith Finch, or even though it's a very, very cursed game story-wise, I still maintain the look of The Suicide of Rachel Foster is great. And if you like the sort of rambling around those big, wonderfully realised buildings, it's just trying to think of the best way to like tackle this is you go in understanding that it's a certain level of mystery, but this is a proper red string connecting pictures on a corkboard. We've already filled a notebook with notes on the puzzles, some of which are not particularly signposted by the game, at least in the demo. There is so much lore under the surface that just again is not at all signposted by the idea of this game, which is like, oh, you're trying to like build this puzzle box of a house.
It's like, ooh, a children's book. What does this mean?
Oh god, yeah.
The Red Prince.
The Red Prince, eh? And it goes so deep. And another thing that I loved about it, because as the kind of twist here is that the house seems to rearrange itself every day. Like, like the door that's in front of you won't lead to the same room every day. That is happening in Universe, which becomes, I don't think that's too big of a spoiler to say that becomes apparent fairly early on, is that the characters in Universe are aware that the house rearranges itself every day. They talk about the mechanics of the game like it's something that's in their life.
That's fun.
Including the things like you have a certain number of steps a day, which is basically your energy. You can only go through every time you go through a door, it's a step. And if you run out of those steps, then you have to go back to your tent on the outskirts of the grounds and like rest for the night. And the characters understand that, and they know how many steps you get from eating certain types of foods, which you can find around the mansion. It is so interesting in that sense. Like, you begin to understand that you're in a sort of like Dishonored-esque fantasy world with its own political systems and its own, intrigues that are going on in the world around it. It's just so intriguing, and like
there's a lot going on.
The way this demo is arranged as well is that you get the first 4 days of the challenge, which took us 6 hours because we got to the end a couple of times, but you can't get through the door in the demo, obviously. But we really built this place out. They give you 3 save slots, and they're like, don't keep uninstalling and reinstalling so that you can refresh your save slots. Like, don't play it too much before the full game comes out. There's got a release window of spring 2025, which they announced fairly recently. So it's the one they're currently hoping to hit, I believe. I am so excited to play this full game when it comes out. I don't know if I can keep myself from doing another couple of runs of the demo. It is pinging everything that I want. It's a very puzzle-based mystery game. It's about stately homes and shifting architecture and all of the things that I love to play with in a big toy box, basically. I'm so excited for this game.
Yeah, this is one of my most anticipated games as well. I'm the same as you, Rebecca. Give me a house or a building that shifts on the inside and I'm so there. I'm banging on that door. I'm like, let me in.
I know. It's so when you get there and just look at it and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
can't do
Everyone I've
anything
spoken
yet.
to about this demo who's played it has loved it. There's so much more that I can't believe that there's like just like so much more to go in terms of like, story, lore,
Yes.
mechanics. Like, this is going to be, I think in my waters, this will be a big game of the year. Like one of like indie gems.
It just feels like it's going to be up there at the end of the year with the, with the 20 or so indies that usually break into the conversation. This feels like it could really be one of them. And I hope it is, because it's just, I'm so into it. So I don't know if I've ever like gone into this with you guys, but I was super obsessed in my teens and my 20s with the Winchester Mystery House in
Yes, you went to see it in America.
I went to see it, and it was just like,
I
that
remember
was
you
like
saying
one
this.
of those big dream fulfillment moments in my life, was actually getting to go around that house, having been like really like obsessed with it for like a decade at that point. So yeah, this is
There we
giving me
go.
like that same kind of vibe. I love a big creepy stately home even when it's behaving normally. So when it's all doing the shifting architecture thing, I'm really into that. So exciting.
It is.
You played the demo for like 7-8 hours, did you say, Rebecca?
6 hours, almost
6.
exactly to finish the first 4-day run.
I'm really interested to see how much is repeated when you play the full game.
Yeah, I mean,
That's a long time to play a demo.
it is a lot of, but the thing is, it's like, it is a lot of repetition,
Yeah.
but it's also like the thing that you're iterating on is your own knowledge. You're really not carrying much over between those runs. But the second day was our longest of the run. That was like probably about 4 hours on its own, nearly maybe. We just took
Wow.
so many notes because we were noticing things of like the
I'm not
way that-
surprised with your 6 hours. There's
way
so
it
much
flags
I'm so
information to you.
surprised. Yeah.
Yeah.
The order of the rooms, sometimes you get different information. The objects you have, certain objects, when you go back to different rooms, will reveal secrets to you. So there's that. So the
Yeah.
combination of objects, information, and rooms means that every time you will get something
Yes.
different.
And of course, just the realization, which might not hit you at first, that there are things in every room that are giving you information.
Whether that be the lore, the story,
Yeah.
like a potential
Like-
room that might come out.
There's definitely a couple of big overarching puzzles that aren't even fully realized in this demo, but that we have taken like so many notes on because we're like, this is what's in the room at the end. This is
Get your
important.
grid paper out.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Need the gridded
I'm
stuff for
excited
this.
Hell yeah.
Father, bring the gridded stuff.
there's like sticky notes, lined notes, and then the grid. When you're like grid level
Yes.
like a
Oh
puzzle,
yeah.
you're
because
in.
we graduated
gone.
from sticky notes to
Father,
lined
father.
notes about 3 hours in.
Yeah.
So
When you're like, this is a grid. Okay, alarms.
Yeah.
This is a grid. A grid paper.
it's a grid situation. It's a
Grid situation. You
This
know.
is a grid-only zone. Do not pass with lined paper.
Yeah.
Father.
Oh, that's a good. I'm gonna have to get like a maths workbook for the full release.
Seriously, like, yeah.
Fucking hell.
Oh, that's a really good pick.
So yeah,
So
that's
fucking excited.
definitely my most anticipated as it stands mid-January 2025.
I'm going to wait for the full version of this. I think I'm going to try and go in as blind as possible, just because you two have played the demo, and I'm convinced, basically.
Yeah, after our demo talk last year, when we were like, maybe demos kind of ruin games for us, I played an hour and was like, I'm out. I can't. I want to
Yeah.
play so much more, but I was like, I can't.
That's exactly what I'm worried about here. Is that if I do any more, it'll be too much.
But the possibilities.
Yeah.
But I want to do more.
I don't think. Yeah, with what you've, I think that's fine with what you've said. But
Yeah.
there's more. So I don't
Yes, but
Anyway.
also I love the mechanic, like just the physical act of putting the rooms together and kind of looking through this and like thinking about how that functions as a house as well. Because obviously,
looking on the blueprint.
yeah.
The blueprint.
Yeah, that happened on the episode last year, right? As you said
Yeah.
blueprints, and none of us picked up on that being a pun.
It happened to Mick again while we were playing the demo
Incredible.
this week.
I love that.
So funny.
But yeah, also like big one for Sims fans because you think a lot about architecture, obviously. So
Ooh, love that.
niche intersection there.
What a
But I-
collection of games. My God.
I know.
There's so much good stuff
There's
coming out.
definitely more we could talk about, but like I feel like we must have hit about 20 in that chat just now, and that's probably enough wish listing for people.
Maybe.
22.
Wow.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yes.
A lot of games based on my notes. You know the meme where the guy's pushing over the small domino and then there's like the concrete slab one at the end?
Yes.
We talked about this.
I love
I think
that
on that, the course of my life on the very small one is Liam Richardson meets Rachel Watts in RPS. And the top one is something that happened to me today, which is Liam rants at a 22-year-old colleague about Return of the Obra Dinn. Like an absolute deranged lunatic. Oh, you like puzzles? I just bear with me on
here's
this,
a
but there's
puzzle.
there's this old ship, right? I'm not that old, but it's poor lad. He was like, oh yeah, sounds interesting.
So you like puzzles? Okay, you like puzzles?
Oh,
You like
God.
to take-
Play as an insurance investigator. Now stop, Ethan. Sit down. Listen.
It's a pocket watch. It's a pocket watch, right? And the pocket watch rewinds time, but you can only hear the moment before it happens. So you have to listen, and then there's 4 Russians.
What? How much do you know about the bosun? Right. Well, do a bit of reading before you download it. It'll help. Trust me.
Oh, God. Oh, my goodness.
Good list.
So good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Woo! Nice.
Should be a fun year.
It should. Right. Speaking of fun, hyperfixations, anyone?
Woo!
I don't mind if I do. Mother, bring out the hyperfixations.
Mummy.
It feels very strange to be asking you two about your hyperfixations when we are 7 minutes away from the next episode of The Traitors, and I know you're both really
We're not
antsy
going to
about
make
Kent.
it. We're not
You're
going to make
not.
it.
I hate to tell you, but we are a
I
lot
can't watch it
closer than I
tonight.
thought we'd be. So,
We are, to be
actually,
fair,
yeah.
we are. Mummy,
Mummy, is it time for hyperfixations, Mummy?
Mummy, bring the teat.
And the grid paper. I'm feeling puzzly and ever so hungry. Right, can we move on?
oh, what is happening?
so
I dare
hungry.
join in with this because someone needs to stay on planet Earth. I'm going to pull this back by doing mine first.
Nice.
Well, you two feel free to continue whatever the hell that was. Like, if you need to.
I don't know what that was.
I'm fine. I'm okay.
Well, it's been so long. It's been so long since we've done this. I feel like I need to do a short one and then a slightly longer one because I don't know which
Sure.
to pick.
That's what I'm
First
doing.
thing that I just wanted to talk about a movie that I watched recently called One Cut of the Dead, which is on
Ooh.
Shudder in the UK. It's a Japanese film from a few years. I wish I could remember what year it was. It's a few years old. I think it's 2019 or 2018 maybe. And it is a zombie comedy horror film. And like comedy horror is my favorite, or at least strong contender for my favorite subgenre of horror film. It is really, really hard to talk about this film without entirely giving away the very, very excellent twist. So that's why I want to make it a short one. But I just want to
Okay.
say, like, if you like zombie films, if you like comedy horror, if you just like comedy films generally, really, I don't think it leans that heavily on the horror in the end. One Cut of the Dead is excellent. All I would say going in is the first half hour, you'll be like, this is all right, but I don't get why my friend hyped it up to me because this was exactly my experience. I don't get why my friend has hyped this to me so hard. And then once you get through to like the second, it's a 3-act film. Second act, you'll start to get it. Third act, the payoff is incredible.
Ooh.
And that is really all I want to say about this because it's so good to just come to it fresh. Totally
Nice.
recommend it. The other thing I want to talk about in a bit more detail is a book that I read over Christmas, which was the Waterstones Book of the Year, which is kind of how I end up picking it up, which is a book called, again, a 2017-ish Japanese thing that has been recently brought to English-speaking territories, called Butter by Asuko Yuzuki.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yes.
this kind of kept getting recommended to me throughout last year, and I was like, it just was like, all right, I wasn't sure I was interested, but it's just like, it looks so my thing. Is it too much my thing? Is it too silly? You know. But I ended up reading it, and yeah, it was really, really good. I think it's been a bit mismarketed in English sort of marketing, to be honest, because it's sold as a sort of slightly based on true story, like thriller about food.
Yeah.
It's called Butter, but it's actually a very, very like stark and like just unflinching look at the way women are treated in Japan, at like modern feminism in Japan, and a lot of things about gender politics and gender relations, and you know how it just affects women in the modern day. Like, it's, if that sounds dry, it's not. It's so weird and interesting. So it's from the main character, the point of view character is this, I don't know why this would appeal to me so much, but it's this 33-year-old woman journalist who's just like trying, she's you know, trying to get some recognition in her field. And she hits upon this idea that she's going to interview this woman who is around her age, who is in prison because she has been convicted of being a serial killer, but there's still a lot of like questions around the security of the conviction, about the way that like it was, you know, circumstantial evidence and like character assassination were used in court. All very complicated by the fact that this woman is a massive misogynist. Like, there's just so much going on. Like, just the setup is so complicated. Like, there's a lot going on, and it does have a lot of recipes in it as well. Like, that's not a lie. There are a lot of really great recipes in it
really?
as well. Yeah, it's like, it's hard to, I listened to the audiobook and it's about 17 hours long, so it's really hard to give like the capsule overview. But I would say like one thing that occurred to me is that more Japanese and Korean novels are being translated into English now. I think there's like more of a market for that, but still it's predominantly male writers, to the point where I think this might have been the first time I read something at that kind of length from a Japanese woman writer. And that was a really eye-opening experience for me, because I was there being like, well, I've always suspected that, you know, the experience of like life as a Japanese woman in like the modern day and a British woman in the modern day aren't that different, but you can't prove it until you've actually heard someone talk about it from their own perspective. So that's like really worthwhile in and of itself. Like, the book is just a wild ride. Every time you think you know what's going to happen, as probably not what's going to happen. I wouldn't say it's a perfect book. I thought the ending was a little bit like it dropped a major plot thread for me. And there's also the fact that it keeps really touching on the subject of queerness and then never directly acknowledges queerness in a way that like feels like it's because it's like it's a lot of it's about repression. So I don't think it's like it makes sense, but at the same time it feels very odd to do this story about like gender and repression. And then every few chapters, it's like, we're going to think so hard about queerness, but then never actually address it directly. So that's like a little bit of a strange one, but it's still just so worth reading. It's like very pacey. It goes to a lot of different places. I really liked it, but still don't know all the things I feel about it. It's definitely one that's going to bear rereading at some point. And yeah, turns out Waterstones know their stuff, and it probably does deserve to be Book of the Year. So yeah, there you go. Butter by Asuka Izuki, translated by Polly Barton.
Yoli read this in December and said it was good. So it's on my list of things to read soon. So I'm very excited to see that it's got two positive
It's been on
reviews
my
now.
radar for a while as well.
Yeah. Almost didn't read it. Very glad I did.
Yeah. Oh, nice. Love a good book recommendation.
I know, I don't do enough. I have 2 English degrees and I very rarely talk about books. Like, I need to, that's my resolution for the podcast this year, is talk about books a bit
Talk more about books. Yeah, I like that. That's good.
It's almost like I have a film degree, I never talk about film because they're all shit. So my hyperfixation.
Yes. Oh,
well, they are. I'm
watch
sorry,
one,
but
Rachel,
they are.
watch One Cut of the Dead. Not all.
Yeah, you're right.
Come on.
I just honestly, I used to go to cinema all the time when I was younger. And I just don't anymore because it's all bollocks. I said it. I said what I said.
I watched 2 movies recently. One was Sonic the Hedgehog 3, which I fucking loved. And the other was the one you recommended, which was Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, which I also loved.
Oh, that's so charming, isn't it?
Good movie.
Yes, I watched that when Rachel recommended it as well. And yes.
Yeah, really enjoyed that. Is your hyperfixation a movie?
I'll go next. Mine is The Traitors. The Traitors season 3 is happening. It's happening right now. It's 1 minute past 9.
It's happening right now. Yeah, that's true.
I mean, this is no surprise. I fucking love The Traitors, don't I? And it's just so good. And Liam loves it as well. And Rebecca, you need to watch it, but it's absolutely fine because you have a lot of stuff going on, so it's all good. But yeah, season 3 is great. But I also watched the Australian version, season 2, and it was so fucking awful. I had to stop because I was getting really anxious. I've never done that with a Traitor season before. I've seen lots of the US one, the UK one, a little bit of the Netherlands, and I've seen the first Australian one. So the second season was just like, I was just like, I can't, like, this traitor is so unlikable. Like, what is it?
Wow.
What is it about Australian versions of reality TV that is just so, it's honestly, whenever there's like, oh yeah, I love Marriage at First Sight in the UK, I'll watch the Australian one. Wild, fucking batshit. Oh yeah, I'll watch the Traitors Australian version. Wild! What is happening over there? What is happening?
Yeah, what is happening
Has
over
anyone
there?
checked on Australia?
Yeah,
Are they okay?
Yeah,
Australia,
there's cameras
check
over there
in.
and we don't like what we're seeing.
So like, I'm really into my traitors at the moment. I watch Uncloaked. I'm in a chat with Liam, friends of the podcast, Ed and Hayden. I have a post video call chat with my sister and my mum. I have another
Love that.
chat with, again, friend of the podcast, Shay, and my other friend Georgie. And then, so I'm in like 4 different chat groups. And I've got Henry, obviously.
Amazing.
We're all chatting about the traitors, and it's just so fucking good. I'm really enjoying this season.
Yeah.
Don't watch the Australian one unless you literally want an anxiety attack.
Which
'Cause
season
that's
is the
what's
one that
gonna
gave you the anxiety attack?
Australia
The first
season
one.
2.
2. I might just watch season 2 after we finish season 3.
I've said this to someone else and they said exactly the same thing. And they
Can't
also
wait.
stopped watching. So I'm
wow.
really keen to see. Yeah, because it's Liam, honest to God, I'll be really quick. It's honest to God, the traitors are so fucking dislikable, especially one. From the get-go, I'm just like, he's a
Interesting.
fucking idiot. I hate him.
Knew you were going to say he.
It gets
Yeah.
it gets to a point where it's so awful. He does things in the challenges that make no fucking sense. He literally is so horrible. I won't tell you too much because I know you're going to watch. And the ending, I looked up on Wikipedia, is the most, like, I didn't know they could have an ending like that. It was so awful, the way it all played out. And I'm just like, yeah. So watch it and let me know what you think, because
I will.
some of those round tables, I love the drama. You know I love the drama. I can handle the drama. That's not drama. That's trauma.
Too intense.
That's trauma
Yeah.
right there. But one of my faithfuls from any series ever is on that series. So she's amazing. And she's the best faithful, one of the best faithfuls ever. But it also
Interesting.
has one of the most, I just couldn't. Anyway, so yeah. Also, I'm mini hyperfixation since you have 2. Severance episode 1, season 2 is out today.
I haven't watched it yet. We're having a watch party with some friends on Sunday. I can't wait. Did you see how they advertised it in New York?
Yes, in Grand
Yeah.
Central Station. Girl.
Did you see this, Rebecca?
No, what
Have you seen
happened?
Severance?
I haven't.
You should watch Severance. It's the best TV
I've
show
been
ever made.
told. I have been told.
Oh,
They
God,
got
yeah.
all the, so it's set, I won't, without spoiling, it's set in an office, and they
Yeah.
got all the main characters and they put them in a glass cube and they made them act like their characters in the middle of Grand Central Station in this cube, and people could just
Wild.
go and watch them.
You just
Wow.
watch them. Oh.
I
And,
can't wait to watch that.
Me neither. Like, oh my God. Like, having the traitors and Severance. I watch Succession and Severance really close together, so I always get them mixed up.
I
I
watched
get
at the
them
same
mixed up a
time,
lot
yeah.
as the 2 that I haven't watched but have been told I must.
Right, so having Severance and the traitors on, delicious. Oh, I'm so
We are
fed.
well
I'm
fed.
so good.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, those are
very,
mine.
very. My incredibly quick season 3 Traitors thoughts are: they've never been dumber, folks, and we're all the better for it. I'm sorry. I'm in the chat this week because I only caught up on this week's episodes last night when I went to a friend's to watch them, and when someone got voted out, someone exclaimed, "I've known since the train." They weren't a traitor on the train. That was before they were picked as traitors. So I think what you were saying there, mate, is you didn't like them. You absolute goon. But never mind.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. Yeah, big fan. Very happy it's back.
Go on then, babes.
Yeah, so my happy fixations are, my first one, very, very quick, is I came into this new year with no new music to listen to. I felt very tired of music and I couldn't think of what I wanted to listen to. I was really struggling to find new music. I'll tell you what, Spotify's discoverability is death. I didn't realize how bad it was.
It's so
but just
bad.
trying to find playlists made by humans is nearly impossible on that app. The future sucks. I hate it here. But I found a band, I believe it's just one performer, called Blondshell, who is like
Love the
a
name.
rock artist. And she is, I think she's only really gone, like, I think her first album was 2023, so she's only really become famous. She's in her mid-30s, and she has these incredibly emotional, soulful rocks tunes that are also enormous in their chorus. The way they expand out to fill the room when you listen to them, they're Wonderful.
So
I'm
cool.
absolutely obsessed with her. So yeah, Blonde Shell, little music recommendation for you there.
Nice.
Big fan. TNA, which is a recent single, very, very good. However, my main hyperfixation is actually an indie game. Ha ha ha. No one's made that joke before. It's Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. I started playing this over Christmas. I don't really like Indiana Jones. I think he's fine. I wish him all the best. I think, the last two movies I heard are bad. I don't know. I didn't watch the last one. This game is incredible. It's the best AAA game I've played in years. It is so considered. This could have been Uncharted with a Harrison Ford skin. And in fact, that was what they were trying to make about 10 years ago for the PS3 and Xbox. But what they've made here is a game that understands the character of Indiana Jones, and it understands that Indiana Jones, you can't give him a machine gun and expect him to kill 5,000 Nazis. Instead, he's a man who, in the time of this game, is in his late 30s and, probably can't climb up a whip very well and is maybe a bit slow and probably is going to spend most of his time, solving puzzles and, looking at things. Basically. So, there's a great thing when you whip up and you, climb up. It goes from first to third person. And as he's climbing up, he's just grunting like me getting out of bed. And I just find that so relatable. It's a brilliant game. It's all set in these, open zones. And in these zones, the Vatican is the first level. And it'll be like, okay, Indiana, go find this, hidden temple that might be underneath the Sistine Chapel or whatever. And as you're walking around, you'll hear priests be like, "Hi, I wonder, have you felt that draft behind that bookcase? I wonder what that is." And at the top of the screen, it'll say new mystery, the draft in the bookcase or whatever. And you just organically uncover all of these little mysteries and little secrets within these areas. And even though they're small, they're so dense full of character and little stories and little things to do. So as a cerebral experience, it's a very slow-paced, thinky game in how you interface with it and the puzzles you do and how you slowly and organically map out these environments and discover every single room in them. And then the other half of it is punching Nazis in the head with escalatingly large and comical weapons. There's so many Nazis that are at the side of a very big drop. And you can just go up and push them down and they'll...
Deathloop.
Yeah, it's very Deathloopy.
Yeah, it sounds very Imsimi, very arcane-y.
It is very arcane-y. And what I love about the stealth is that it's not brutal at all. The stealth is comical and intentionally empowering. So you can stand like quite close to a Nazi if you're ducked down, and the Nazi will do that classic like PS2. Huh? What is that? Is that Harrison Ford? That looks like Harrison Ford. Is that Harrison Ford? Oh, he's gone. That's fine. I won't raise the alarm.
Seen that Outside Xbox clip of the about 40 Nazis failing to spot him when they look directly at him because he's crouched down? It is one of the funniest things I saw on YouTube last year.
I've not.
I might have to link you later
because I've lived it.
I bet you have.
It's so funny, and like what I love about the combat is that there's no like fail state. Oh well, no, there is fail states. If like a bunch of them see you will die.
Yeah.
But there's no like ranking at the end of the level. It's never like, well, you got spotted a few times, so fuck you. Or there's more rats now, whatever the fuck Dishonored was doing back in 2012. If you see a Nazi and you crawl up behind him and you've got like a little hammer and you crack him over the head, or if you've got a big pipe, Indiana will like whack them in between the legs and then crack them around the head. I mean, it's Machine Games who made the Wolfenstein games. They know how to like batter Nazis and like go on them. But if you do that and another one's like, hey, you shouldn't do that, you just turn around and like punch them, and the game's like, that's funny, like good for you. And the game is just built on moments like that. And also it has a really accurate Harrison Ford render voiced by Troy Baker, who does an incredible Indiana Jones performance. And I mean, it's Indiana Jones. It's Harrison Ford circa like the 70s and 80s, which is the most gorgeous a human being has ever looked in the history of ever. So like in the cutscenes, I know it's first person, but you see him in the cutscenes and I'm just like, this is nice. I like this. Good video game. I am obsessed with this fucking video game.
What did you play it on?
I played it on the Xbox Series X.
Awesome, because like the only slightly negative review I've heard of this game is from my friend who played it on PC. who said the PC version is jank, but it's still an amazing game.
Oh, it's jank as hell, and I think that's one of the reasons why I like it.
See,
People
that's the
talk
thing,
over each other all the time in it.
Also what my friend was saying, but we're obviously a friend of the podcast, Mick, and I are waiting for this to come to PlayStation 5 later this year because we don't have an Xbox and none of our PCs can really run it that well. So
yeah, I'm same as you. I'm waiting it for it to come on PS5.
But I am so excited for this.
Oh, you'll love it, Rebecca.
I know.
Do you think you'll play it, Rachel?
Yeah, for sure. I really love Uncharted.
That's so interesting because I bloody can't stand Uncharted, but I'm so excited for this to not be.
It's a goofy, fun game, and I'm like, I'm gonna die, and I'm hanging over stuff, and I'm like, oh no, there's water coming in. I want a big ship, and I'm running around, and Nathan Drake is so campy sometimes. I'm just like, I gotta live for it.
As a mass murderer, he's very likable. And what I will say about this is that even though it's very slow and considered, it has some fucking incredible, exciting action set pieces.
I do like that.
There's one involving a boat that is breathtakingly rendered. And the story in this game is very goofy, but because it's in a video game, it sort of gets away with it in a way that the movies wouldn't, which makes it one of the best Indiana Jones stories I've seen.
I do not doubt it.
Yeah, I'm not into indie, but that it just, from what you said as well, it just sounds so funny. My hat! Oh no, he's going to be chasing his hat at one point. Every
level his hat leaves his head. Oh, you get sorry, I'm ranting, we need to go. But you get so you level up indie by finding books. And you
I love that as a mechanic.
Then purchase these books. It's so good. Oh, there's the collectibles, but the game doesn't tell you about them. You've got to buy pamphlets if you want to add markers to the minimap, or you can play with nothing on the minimap and find them yourself. So you get these books, and then you can unlock them and give Indy new powers by taking photographs of cats and nice things. It's the best game I've met. But one of the abilities you can get is that if you get knocked out, if you find his hat, if you look around and see his hat and then grab it, he gets back up with half health and you can keep fighting Nazis.
Oh my! A revive on the hat. I love it.
That is a mechanic.
That sounds fun.
So
absolutely.
That's going to be so good.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Okay, I'm sorry, I spoke so long there, but it's a good
that's
video
good.
game.
We all wanted to hear it.
Yeah, good game.
But yeah, I can still
so fucking funny.
I can still bring us in under 2 hours. I think we've done pretty well considering how excited we've been this entire episode.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I guess that brings us to the end of our first episode of 2025.
Yay!
Well done.
Woo!
That was relatively hinged, I feel, other than the Stuart Little chat, which was proper unhinged.
Maybe.
We said the line, "Mummy, bring the teat." I don't think it was the most grounded episode we've ever done.
I just think that there have been, basically, I feel like throughout this, one wheel was always on the ground, whereas we have properly been launched into space before. So,
Yeah, true, actually. Well done for keeping yourself grounded.
Sometimes the cart is just dragging on the ground, no wheels.
It's just a rope tied to the front.
It's just.
God.
Yeah, there we go. Happy New Year, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us once again, or indeed for the first time. Welcome if you're new. Be sure to listen to our next episode in a couple of weeks' time when we're going to be talking about some of the best new indies we've played in early 2025. If you'd like to, do join our still relatively new Discord, which is lovely and friendly, and we have, what is it, 120-ish?
127 people, I think.
127 people on there now, which is lovely and flattering. Thank you all so much. And yeah, feel free to join in the conversation if you would like. I feel like that's our admin out of the way. And so we can just say, till next time. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Goodbye. If you've got any Stuart Little facts, contact at indieventurepodcast.co.uk. Subject line, tiny little mouse man, Stuart Little. Bye. Happy New Year. Indie Venture is a video games podcast created, produced, hosted, and edited by Rachel Watts, Rebecca Jones, and me, Liam Richardson. For more information, including a list of every game we mentioned in this episode, make sure to check out our website, indieventurepodcast.co.uk. You can get in touch by sending your questions, comments, and feedback to contact@indieventurepodcast.co.uk. indieventure.co.uk. You can support the show by rating us 5 stars and leaving a review on Apple Podcasts or your preferred podcast provider of choice. Some of the games we talk about on the show may have been provided to us for free for review consideration. Our intro music and stings were composed for us by Ollie Newbury. Check the episode description to hear more of his excellent tunes. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you again in 2 weeks for another episode of Indie Venture. Bye for now.